Have you ever been taking a hike through the woods and night is just creeping closer and closer, and you realize that you're not going to make it back out before night has fully hit? So you decide to keep on venturing until you find this lonely cabin, and you're like, I'm going to sleep in here for tonight. And you walk in, and it's just one room, and there's a bed in the corner, and you decide, I guess that's where I'll sleep for tonight. You hop in bed, but something just feels off. So you're tossing and turning until eventually you look up, and there's these weird, creepy pictures just staring at you, and it makes it so much harder to fall asleep. Well, eventually you do fall asleep. And when you wake up in the morning to start on your hike to get back out of the woods, you realize something is very off. You look back and you realize that they weren't creepy pictures at all, but windows.
No, I have never, because that would be trespassing, but what just happened? Anyway, we're reading creepypastas. I'm actually surprised I said that correctly.
Yeah. We had technical difficulties, and she decided, instead of continuing on, because it's still recording, instead of continuing on and letting me deal with it, she decided to take a whole break, and it ruined the whole ambiance.
We can restart.
I'm not restarting. That was pretty good on my part.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
We're reading creepypastas that we just found. Mine is about, it says that it's about aliens, psychological horror, science fiction, space, and cosmic horror. But let me go ahead and start. It's called Sea of the Fractured Circuit. Ready? There's never one point where something clicks. Some like to believe there is, that hobbies or skills reach a well-defined turning point, an on-off switch. It's never that simple. Even the most abrupt of changes occur over time, not in discrete quantum moments. That's why the worst changes are still able to creep up on us, stalking us, strengthening their grasp, and when we finally realize, it's already too late. As quickly as Jamie transitioned from a living, breathing person to a dribbling slab of mangled flesh and bones, the same rule applies. Interesting. Hello there, editing Kaylee to tell you that the next part is going to be brutal to listen to and to watch, so if you want to skip ahead to our 2-sentence horror stories instead, that's at the time 56:17. And I totally understand if you want to do that, because the whole story is just, it's not coherent, it's not written well, it's after midnight, I'm tired, I can't read it well, but if you don't skip it, you will get to see the moments where I mess up the simplest of words, and there are some funny moments in there that you can watch if you don't skip it. But again, 56:17 is the time. It happened over the course of 7-8 seconds? To me, it felt like lifetimes until that moment. It was the third day of our honeymoon. They were on a honeymoon. It was the third day of our honeymoon in Granada when it happened. Our boat hovered around the edge of the bay, and at the time I couldn't have wished for any greater bliss, until that bliss too changed. Ripped away like stitches from a flesh wound. Maybe if I had gotten bored of my book sooner, put it down and looked across the still waters, I'd have seen it coming. But it's always so easy to think, what if, isn't it? The rogue fishing vessel's bow crunching through decking boards. Jamie wheeling around, the sunshade slipping past her dark bangs and bouncing off the railing. I heard every intricacy and every sound, every minor crack of wood, pinging screws, every last shrill tone in the fraction of a second she had to scream, until eventually the world settled, clearing its fog and presenting me with a bitter end to something that should have lasted forever. I didn't think... Oh, I don't like to think about it, really. Perhaps putting it into words will ease some weight, but I doubt it. I still see her whenever I close my eyes. A faceless corpse with nothing but a shattered lower jaw for a head. Her left arm with a big chunk of... maybe we should skip past that.
Big chunk of what? Where?
Of her shoulder, bobbing in the blue and emerald. Maybe I should skip some of the gory things. I don't think it... But anyway, I can remember every detail if I want to, but I don't. Mercifully, the years have sapped clarity from those... I think it's supposed to be zapped. Mercifully, the years have zapped clarity from those memories. Sapped or zapped?
I wouldn't know.
Anyway, they almost feel like a dream now. Hazy and desaturated. Saturated. They almost feel like a dream now. Hazy and desaturated. I'll never truly forget, though, when it happened, a board buckled and hit me upside my head, fracturing. My goodness. If I can't get this through these 2 paragraphs. When it happened, a board buckled and hit me upside my head, fracturing my skull and deafening me in one ear. Once the healing process was over, I got a hearing aid fitted. Whether it's hearing through that or being deaf, it's my constant reminder of how I lost Jamie. Since then, I've searched for anything to distract myself, any consistent activity I can lose myself in, anything to stop the nervous clenching of my jaw. In the end, it turned out to be the mountain biking. The trail demands every ounce of your focus, lest you go head over handlebars into the dirt and nettles. I always stuck to the track, rarely, if I ever stopped for a break. So it's still not clear what compelled me to lay on the brakes and set my bike down the day I came across that pond. There was this energy in the air that gave me the impression that something special was nearby, something just begging to be discovered. And that I did.
Jamie.
It was around the trail's 3-quarter marker where I stashed my bike off track and made my way through the woods. Again, I can't say why or how I knew something was there, but whatever it was, I felt intrigued. Enough to distract me from my own thoughts as dry leaves crunched under my heels. I found it only after 10 minutes. First, I thought I was...
Are you okay?
I cannot read this for the life of me. I keep messing up the words every 2 seconds. Give me a second. I'm just ruining the moment.
It's okay.
This is gonna be you soon, so it's fine. I found it. At first, I thought it was a clearing, a simple break in the canopy. There was more, however. Taking up the majority of the clearing was a still murky pond, complete with a dilapidated wooden jetty. The deck made a right turn at the end that led into a hut of some kind, sharing the same moss-crusted poles. Cautiously, I planted a foot into the jetty and froze. A rush of memories threatened to break free from an old struggling dam. I took a second to breathe. Deep inhale, slow exhale. And my nose picked up...
Sorry.
Girl? I took a second to breathe. Deep inhale, slow exhale. And my nose picked up on something as I did. Faint as it was, there was this unmistakable smell of something ashy and burnt. Although the jetty was clearly built decades ago, it didn't creak. Built back in the times of sturdier timber and creosote, I'd guessed. I hope that's how you say that. Making a note not to get any of that on my hands, I continued toward the hut. Before I reached a store frame empty aside from a pair of rusted hinges, I noticed that there was no plants in or around the pond. Only dead leaves and a smattering at that. For some reason, the detail made me uneasy, and all the years this place waited quietly for another soul to find it. There'd been no overgrowth. The trees even seemed to stop after a point, like their branches had been cut. I squinted. No, they weren't cut. They were dry, cracked and dark, like they'd been singed. I started getting a really bad feeling then. The pond's surface was flat and undisturbed, but beneath was heavy with murk and silt.
I think there's a hair in my shirt. It's like itchy.
I guess I'll just cut this part out.
Okay. Thanks.
I started getting a really bad feeling then. The pond surface was flat and undisturbed, but beneath was heavy with murk and silt. Past that, I could discern the barest suggestion of hard jutting edges, irregular, sharp, but too defined to be branches or twigs. It reminded me of the sea that day. A lot of things reminded me of that day. My interest in the pond faded quickly, and I stood to begin walking back. I made it a few short steps when something screamed in my left ear. My damn hearing aid was acting up again, but at the time I didn't see it that way. It was a pejorative?
Pejorative?
Pejorative? What does pejorative mean?
Hold on, let me go on to my AP Lang grade. I'm pretty sure that was a...
That has negative connotations or that is intended to disparage or belittle.
Yes.
Pejorative. Okay. It was pejorative. It demanded something from me, whether to stay or leave. I don't know. All I did know was I had to go. Lost in the moment, clambering away from the pond. I didn't think to turn it off. Once I crested a mound in the terrain, my bike came into view, and relief washed over me. I paused to adjust my hearing aid. It still rang, but not as intensely as it had in the pond. This wasn't a scream anymore, more like a whimper, as if whatever force spoke to me had given up on its persuasion. Now back on my bike, I kept my hearing aid on. I prefer being able to hear properly when I'm riding. It's like when you're driving and you turn down the music to see better. It doesn't make sense, but you do it anyway. For the next few days, life was normal. I work at what I consider the most esteemed auto repair shop in town, but that's not saying much. It's a small town where if there's anything its residents fear more than urbanization, it's change. Though I guess they aren't mutually exclusive. Same repair shop, same mechanics, same cars and bikes, same issues. During the week, my hearing aid started acting up when I'd take phone calls, but not if it was on the landline. It happened when I was near the radio too, though not as intensely. It made me think, what could have caused my hearing aid to do that? Back at the pond. I mean, it was loud. Dare I say deafening. Was there an old faulty device up in the hills? A radio still running somehow, vomiting out stray radio waves? I couldn't get it off my mind, so the next weekend I rode the same trail, and stopped at the same place. In a way, the screeching command I heard before had succeeded in a vague purpose, to bring me back. This time I felt decidedly less anxious. My jaw was relaxed, heart rate normal, just a little heavy breathing from cycling. Nevertheless, an air of strangeness drifted around me, a repulsion, or maybe an attraction. Either way, it felt unnatural. When I arrived at the clearing, I'd hoped that aura around me would have simply been swept away by the wind. I had no such luck. In fact, it was strong as ever.
Yap, 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 yap.
What?
This story is taking forever to get to the point.
I know. This place, the pond, there was something it had in common with my town, a refusal to change. Only in this case, that quality presented as nature's sheer aversion to the clearing. The plants didn't want it, the bugs didn't want it, and the squirrels and raccoons avoided it like the plague. And even I just need you to
would
think
be like
professional and not.
She's calling me a dead bug.
You are a dead bug. Let me just continue. But the fact still stood that this place wasn't new to me anymore. Studying my breath, I once more set foot on the jetty. Whatever had been dumped in the pond still made me uneasy, but this time not for the bad memories it afforded me. I think there's a term for it. Submechanophobia? I never really thought about it. The hut was new territory. I'd seen only the empty doorframe last time, and now I was going in. A lonely rocking chair rested against one wall, and above it a faded poster, too ravaged by moisture to be legible. Might have been a movie poster, and now barely half of it clung onto one remaining thumbtack. Passing the threshold and taking a step to the right, the rest of the hut's denizens were revealed. In one corner were barrels of crusty fishing gear. I chose not to investigate, for the rancid, fishy smell they gave off, and instead turned to the window. A desk sat there, gray and miserable, on it an empty picture frame, and unexpectedly a typewriter. Its mechanisms were foobar, but several sheets remained clamped. The front page was shifted just past halfway, but again, whatever its previous owner had typed was long ago lost to time and decay. The room was intriguing enough to warrant a few photos. They turned out dark and grainy. I put my phone away and glanced out to the window. Dusk had arrived swiftly and without my notice. As I stepped out from the hut and gazed up, deepening lavender gazed right back down. I kept an LED beam affixed.
What's the word? Fixated?
Affixed.
Oh.
I keep an LED beam affixed to my handlebars, but even that made it only marginally safer to ride in the dark. I stepped out into the deck, and an inhuman screech exploded in my left ear. The interference?
Interference.
I'm really struggling. I can't. If you haven't guessed by now, I'm dyslexic.
She's not. She's lying to you. I think we should get you tested for it, though.
I feel dyslexic. The interference was back. And with the worst possible timing, I swear there is nothing electrical in the hut. Maybe something in the barrels. No, anything electrical would have died years ago from the moisture. So then, what was screaming in my ear? And I just got louder and louder. Any remaining thoughts blurred together into sludge. I groped for the doorframe, finding weak, slimy purchase, and slid down until I slumped over the decking boards. Interesting. Boards of the same ilk? Boards of the same ilk that had deafened me on that day.
This
Girl,
person's choice of words is really weird.
put your blanket back.
I'm hot.
But we're telling ghost stories.
I'm sweating. Like
Well-
I'm overheating.
While scrabbling at my hearing aid, I had the strange, almost magnetic notion that I mustn't take my eyes off that pond. Maybe that's what it wanted, because as I watched, the sun dropped just slow enough to beam through the water instead of reflecting off its surface. A tangle of dead iron lay beneath. Shopping carts, poles, I-beams, chassis,
What?
even what might have been a swing set. Girl, I'm moving on. I briefly wondered who dumped all this here, but what drew my eye was further down. Something distinct. Much larger than anything above it. A smooth, rounded surface, like a massive metal pipe. Only I couldn't make out any seams. No nuts or bolts, nothing. Though it was hard to tell with how deep and buried it was. I didn't like this. It felt all kinds of wrong. I pulled my knees in to try and stand, but the boards were too slippery. I tried again, but... Owen? Are you there?
Is that Jamie's voice?
My limbs turned to stone. Someone was there with me. Someone who knew my name. I waited a few painfully long seconds, and after hearing nothing, I replied. I should have left there and then. Hello? Who's there? You came back. That is a relief. Can you hear me okay? The voice sounded wrong somehow. It spoke in a weird stuttered tone. Oh, my bad. You came back. That is a relief. Can you hear me okay?
Stop.
It said
Pookie?
No, I said okay.
Oh.
It spoke in a weird stuttered tone. I had to go back and...
I got that.
somewhere in the valley between natural and robotic. Each word was made jarringly distinct. My bad. Maybe I have to go again to read. I won't. Yeah? Good. I am stuck down here and we can't get out on our own. This material, this liquid, it is too heavy. Can you help me? I don't know who you are. Where are you stuck? I surveyed the area, scanning from left to right and even above me, but couldn't see anyone. The voice came from my left. I guessed that, in the momentary shock, I'd forgotten about my hearing aid. It came from the hearing aid. At the bottom, we know you cannot retrieve all of me. That's okay. Just the core. That will be enough. Please help.
What does it mean?
Maybe if I continue on, you'll figure out. We've been here so long since we crashed. We fell down, and I'm buried. At the bottom, I couldn't concentrate on my surroundings until it said that. My ears felt hot. My eyes vibrated in their sockets. But they focused and drifted back down to the pond, past it to the bottom. That object, that massive thing resting there, half buried by silt. Bottom of the pond? Where? You must see it, no? My chest heaved as I looked down in disbelief. That couldn't be possible. And that thing? Correct. How? Nobody could survive down there. And yet, here we are. Here we have been for 54 years, 7 months, 8 days, 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 49 seconds. 50, 51. We hope this reading will provide some clarity. Now, I'd like to move past this matter. Stop it! That's impossible! Just shut up! Get out of my head! The sheer absurdity of the situation finally dawned on me, and my limbs thawed. I twisted my body and grasped the door frame in both hands, straining as I heaved up onto 2 feet. Once I was steady, I reached for my hearing aid to turn it off. Before I could do so, a lancing shock erupted across the side of my skull, sending me sprawling back to the deck. Please, Owen, don't leave us. You must help me. You must. The image of the pond under fading dusk started to blur. My left eye was tearing up from the pain. Bleep! What have you done to my... I got up to leave again, only to feel another shock, much worse than the one before. Coughing, tears streaming, the only option I had was to submit. Okay, don't do that. I'm listening, okay? Taking a moment to catch my breath, I decided it'd be best to buy some time. I didn't have a plan. I just hoped one would come to me, or for a miracle to whisk me away. How are you alive down there? 54 years, you said? You got rations or something? Who are you? My last question prompted an immediate response. The interference swelled and released. I am the circuit. I am we. We are Circuit.
What?
Your name is Circuit? I don't understand. We are incomplete. Disconnected. We need another to connect with. We need a friend. My response came as a confused grunt, baffled at the thing's word. We would like to show you. It is easier, and you will understand. Commence. Trailing its words came a violent, oscillating tone that made it feel like my brain was trying to escape my skull. It warbled in my ear. No, my ears. Both ears. I only had one hearing aid. The noise grew and consumed all 5 senses in an instant. It cascaded over itself, overflowing into my eyes, and in a jumbled mess of color. Then all I saw was black. I tried to look down at myself, but it was too dark. The world around me pitched and rotated to reveal that the realm I now inhabited was in fact not entirely empty. A quartet of gray planets orbiting each other, visible despite the complete lack of any stars. I panicked briefly before realizing I had no body, just a nameless observer with an eternal, unyielding void pressing in on me. Without warning, I was sent rocketing toward the planets, crossing their orbital path in seconds. My trajectory seemed to be locked onto the largest of the four. As I neared, I realized there weren't planets in any traditional sense. At first, I thought I was looking at endless gray mountains, but they were too angular, too deliberate. A machine. It shone and glittered outside and in. Vast networks of chrome spires, alien geometry interlaced with a trillion inorganic lights. Mechanical as it was, I could sense a distinct rhythmic pulse, like a beating heart. In a flash, I made landfall and plunged through a rift on its surface. Artificial structures streaked past me in an industrial blur as a voice warped the space around me. Us. It meant nothing at the time. All I could process were the coiled wires and tubing the size of nuclear chimneys. It was hot beyond words to describe it. The further I descended, the more my surroundings became molten, yet somehow continued to function and contribute their part to whatever this place's purpose was. Like every other part of the machine, but in all its circuit boards and transformers, I could
Intimately. Intimately.
No, it's
Oh.
intimate. Intimate. I could intimate no appreciable purpose. Intimate. But in all its circuit boards and transformers, I could intimate no appreciable purpose. It functioned for the sake of functioning. I was reeled back into the nightmare when I passed into an untouched realm of heat. So hot it transcended the concept of temperature. From below, the brightest light yet leaked sluggishly through the latticework. It bled into the corners of my mind, hungry, dragging me down until I am. There I was. At the center nestled there was a ball of light. It roared, it spasmed, expanded and contracted. To one side I caught sight of something I recognized, something cylindrical, shiny, and littered with complex protrusions. Whatever it was, it had been built in seconds, and the white light pulsed once more. It swelled, and a great crackling serpent pushed its way out, winding towards the object like a baby reaching out for its mother and flowing into an open hatch moments before it closed. What remained of the light started humming in a way that ripped apart every fear I ever knew. Somewhere behind it was an echo, one that sounded eerily like my own voice. "Stop! I don't want to see this anymore!" Me. Why? Why are you doing this? Alone. What? Alone is what we have been, but no more. The air exploded into a mighty horn blown by the universe itself, and the light shifted. Something broke. It tore free and it sparked and bubbled, violently decompressing. The metal pod, now fixed to rails, was launched by the expanding pressure and careened up and out of the great machine. Somehow I saw it leaving, bursting through the planetary shell, on a path towards something out there in the darkness. It was nearly as dark as the void around it, but I could just about see the outline of a great black storm cloud rolling and churning. The pod shot into it and out of sight. Did you really just pick your nose and sniff it?
No, I was going like this.
Okay.
What?
I was torn back into the center, bound by invisible chains. I could never escape the light. It grew and burst into the light was all there. All noise fell away, so only a silent white canvas remained. Do you see now? I was alone, but you came for us. You came to free us. And when it is done, there will be friendship. I frowned, I think. Hard to tell without a body. You want to be my friend? I suppose you could say that. Once we reach the center, there will be new beginning. The whiteness before me parted like a stage curtain, and I saw a different planet, a lone blue marble. I saw its layers falling away, one by one, until the centermost point was exposed. Amidst the overload of information, an understanding arose, and I didn't like what I found. No, you can't go there. You can't do that. This is our home. You can't change it. Like that place. We will be in harmony. I will help. You and the others like you. We are all parts of our friend. You are like us, only fragmented. With my help, you can be one again, and the two of us can be perfect. No! In the next instant, I felt cold moisture on my shorts. I felt the slick boards under my fingers. The sky was almost black now, but the pond was not. Light bled up from the bottom, from the massive object lying dead in its basin. No, not dead. Dormant. And whatever was giving off that light gave me a worse feeling than anything I had felt before. Without a second glance at the pond, I shot to my feet and bounded back onto dry land. There's so much I can do for you. You can have her back. We can do that. I stopped dead in my tracks. I reached for my hearing aid before hesitating in fear of another shock. Don't say another word, I growled. But Owen, is that not what you want? Really? Even if you could, I honestly don't doubt that it would be real. Sorry, I have to read that again.
I think they wrote that wrong.
Even if you could, and I honestly don't doubt that, it wouldn't be real.
Oh, there's dashes.
Yeah, it wouldn't be natural. Jamie's story is told. You can't open a book that's already been burnt. The circuit, whatever it was, didn't speak for a moment. Then, perhaps. But to you, there is no difference. You, the software inside your brain, are like a part of me. Of us. Something shifted inside of me then. It wasn't confidence or rebellion. It was a crack. A hairline fault in my willpower, with a sound somewhere between a whine and a growl. I buried it and continued on the path back to the trail. I just needed to get back to my bike. Get the wheels rolling and focused, then I'd be okay. I almost started to cry when I thought I'd gone the wrong way. But the silver of moonlight that was there was shone off my bike. Without a second thought, I hauled it up the trail, switched on the handlebar light, and kicked it down to first gear. In order to get home safe and to avoid another static shock from my circuit, I kept my hearing aid turned on. I tried to ignore the circuit. I did, but the compulsion to respond to rebuke its cold logic was too great to contain. How can you still talk to me? I thought I'd be way out of range by now. Who was your first friend? That caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting my question to be answered by another. My first friend, I guess it'd have to be Oscar. And how did you meet Oscar? Preschool. Earliest I can remember it. Preschool. Earliest I can remember is him chasing me through these pop-up tubes and tents they'd set up. What else do you remember around the period of your life, Owen? I frowned, trying not to think too hard in peril of falling off my bike. Not much. It's spotty. Look, what's your point already? I don't do surveys for free. Well, despite having such poorly developed memory at the time, you can clearly remember the first friend you made. You are my first friend, so how could I forget you? That connection has been made, and it can never be lost. I scoffed at its analogy. That's as may be, but I can just make out my hear. Sorry, there's an M under it, and so I read M from the word mean, and I put it
Mirroring.
so I put make instead of take.
Oh.
It said that's as may be, but I can just make instead of take. Okay. That's as may be, but I can just take out my hearing aid when I'm back home. Our connection wouldn't mean much then, would it? Oh, Owen, it said. The bridge is burnt. Those words, I heard them in my right ear. My working ear. I'm not sure how to convey the dread that pulled in my stomach when that happened. So cold and heavy I could scarcely pedal, let alone part my lips to speak. Stop your bike, please, Owen, just for a moment. But I was already one step ahead, dismounting and crouching down, hands on my knees while I fought for air. This couldn't be happening. It was absurd. Turn it off. I was reluctant I could go with another electric shock. Everything felt heavier. The woods had never been so claustrophobic. Trees loomed over me. The humid air was stifling. and shadows congealed to swallow me up. My hearing aid seemed as heavy as a block of lead. I had to take it out. When I did, I was amazed to find I could hear again. My left ear, deaf no more. You seem to be in awe, but know that this is a trivial repair. We can do so much more. Now, hearing the circuit in both ears, I could identify just what sounded so wrong about its voice. It was like listening to a room full of people, each person speaking the next word in the sentence with almost perfect rhythm and tone, but not quite. Okay, I huffed, still catching my breath. Circuit, what do you want with me? I heard a buzz or a hum that it was contemplating its next word.
What was that?
As we stated, all you need to do is let me out. But know that this is not purely a one-sided request. I believe the human mind may understand it better as you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Although in this case, I would be relieving every one of their itches. And if I let you out, what happens to me? You said something earlier about me being like a part of you. What's that about? I am we, and we are me. That is the nature of things. You, your mind to be exact, is the same as any of the fragments that make I into we. However, we are not from here. What I showed you earlier was a memory of sorts, but which occurred in another permutation, an earlier one by our calculation. There were others there too. They are also me, but we did not enter union. They are all me, us, but you are not, because this is not our reality. In the same way, every mind on this planet is you too, and you are them. Christ, slow down. I will allow you... I will allow you respite to process this information. Another realm? Permutation? Reality? I looked down, curling my lip when I strained toward full understanding. Walking my bike now instead of riding so as to concentrate on the conversation, I tried to figure out a counter-argument. Some part of me believed that if I could stump it, lead it into a checkmate, it would lose its hold on me. I soon grew sick of listening to the tick-tick of the bike's wheels and had to break the tension. Chun-chun. How come you assume we're the same as you? I mean, you said it. You weren't from here. Who knows what laws your permutation is bound under? They could be entirely different. It is the nature of things. That's not an answer. With absolute unity is absolute concord. There cannot be one without the other. It is the nature of things. Minutes into restored hearing, I already wanted to be deaf again, in both ears preferably. But I got the sense I didn't need hearing for the circuit to speak to me. Fine, yeah, it's the nature of bleep. Whatever.
What?
I'm bleeping the bad words.
No. Say the sentence again.
Fine, yeah, it's the nature of bleep.
Fine. Yeah.
That's what I said.
Yeah, I didn't.
Whatever.
I thought you said like a word in a different language.
But we still aren't like you. We aren't one. We're independent. Fragmented. What? You are fragmented, and your independence is a mere side effect. In your current state, there can never exist a time without discord. There is hate and opposition and decrying of each other's values. Sorry, I was trying to determine if that was how you say that or not. If I were to be blown into pieces, the result would be the same. Instead, we can offer to bind you as one and be like us. Of every single intellect that I am and we are, we have complete congruous agreement in every thought, every aim, every desire, and every intention. Goodness, this is a long story.
Can this wrap up?
It was clear that asking for a rundown in layman's terms would be out of the question. Thankfully, it seemed to be as patient as it was insistent. The town lights were now in view, and I'd be home soon. Thank God. In hindsight, returning at night may have been for the best. Better no townsfolk to gawk at a deranged man talking to himself. I finished the rest of the walk in silence, and with the circuit holding its tongue, I started to get this feeling then, like I wasn't where I was supposed to be. Not lost or anything, I knew where I was, but at the same time, something about my street felt foreign. Brushing off the feeling, I opened my garage door,
It sounded like weird.
stashed my bike away, then headed inside to flop onto my couch. Owen? Yeah, don't wear it out, I sighed. Come back to us. You'll be better off. I threw my head back with a testy groan. Look, ask anyone else, and I'm sure I speak for them when I say we don't want Earth to be turned into a giant machine. Giant effing machine. Circuit went silent for a while. Why are you just staring at me like that? Circuit went silent for a while. I almost let myself believe it had given up and left before it spoke once more. Sorry. This world is in shambles. We are only trying to help before we
I
we're
don't
not.
want it close to your mouth, but when it's like this, it sounds different than this.
It sounds different than this.
Like, I don't know.
The cloud. Wait, ready? The cloud. Wait, I'll do the. I'll go. And you go. The cloud. It sounds like more than just the two of us when I do that and you do that. Ready? The cloud. You went. My voice stopped. The cloud. We are Circuit. We are Circuit. Circuit is us. The world is in shambles. We are only trying to help. This world is in shambles. We are only trying to help. Before we were knocked from orbit, I observed your world. I was sad. Now seeing man's true nature, we feel despair. Do you know of the suffering, Owen? Of the children starving and diseased with illness you could so easily mitigate with the proper resources? Of the families torn apart by senseless conflict as we speak? And even in your tenacity and greed, great swaths of you remain unhappy. I have my own life to live. I only get one, but anyone will say the same thing because they are lacking in perspective. Fortunately, we are here and we are going to give you that perspective. Deathly pang of fear shot through me. It had already seen what it could do, how it could warp my senses. Until this point, it hadn't cut me off while speaking. Whilst instead of while. And the notion of this great entity getting impatient only served to frighten me further. I would advise you brace yourself, Owen. Without even the time to do so, I felt the circuit spreading and arcing through my brainwaves as it seized control of my senses. What I experienced in the following moments is nearly impossible to write about. I must have lasted no more than a second or two, but the pain condensed into the eye blink of a moment has left me scarred. That was the most confusing sentence I've ever heard. I really can't describe it without gross understatement. Brief flashes from the eyes of a million anguished people, starvation, mutilation, disease, heartbreak, all swirled into a black hole of distilled agony. The scream I let out was so shuddering and violent it left my throat raw. The last thing I experienced in the gauntlet of pain was my legs, sickly and gangrenous, rotting alive while maggots squirmed inside blackened craters in a crust-exposed bone. Stop! Jesus, please stop! Whimpered. Stop. Jesus.
I can't handle this. Can
Stop.
you please just continue reading?
I whimpered. Sorry. You have your life, and they have theirs. That was 1.58 seconds of just 100 unfortunate humans. That is happening to them right now. I clenched my eyelids hard until the dark purple clouds bloomed in the dark. Teeth gritted and still recovering from pain, I mustered. 100? That was only 100? Please don't do that ever again. I get it, okay? I get it. You don't get it, Owen. You see it all around you every day, but ignore it. You and your kin are shards, lost without a common goal, terrified that things will change. And until you ascend to a state like ours, lost you shall remain. So when Earth is a machine of your making, you're saying I'll be happy? You say concord is unity. That just sounds boring to me. I can assure you it is anything but. Evolution can only bring you so far, and we are the next step. Once you are made whole, we will be together. Two living gods in a home with walls made of the stars, anything would be possible. Echelons of perception beyond what you can currently imagine. You could go back. You could enter your very own time stream, where you have her forever. Anger that had been simmering on the shelf boiled over the fear. I said we weren't talking about that. Yet it is all that occupies your thoughts. You know you'd do anything for just one more day with her. So what would you do for a lifetime? I don't believe you. The words came out shaky, but I wasn't sure I believed them. Okay, you say you can do that. Will I still remember the life I've lived? That would be up to you, Owen. I could feel it, my will breaking and starting to give in, throat parched. I stood on wobbly legs and staggered into the kitchen door, opened it, and got a glass of water, then drank it in one long gulp. I still didn't trust the circuit, even though I knew it was right. To me, everything it said had seemed infallible. I had the impression that it probably already knew what I was thinking, but I kept fighting nonetheless. How can I be sure? I can give you a taste. You've seen what we can show you. It would be a simple task. I filled another glass and emptied it before turning back to the door. Then prove it. I reached for the handle. My fingers were wrapped around cold brass, and I pushed. If that is your wish. My arm spasmed and jerked forward. Pulled by my own grip, I toppled through the doorway, and being unable to right myself, I collapsed onto the living room carpet. No, not carpet. It fell closer to hard, varnished wood. My skull whipped downward in a sickening thud, leaving me dazed. Then I realized where I was, and the haze was lifted as quick as it come. It was warm. I felt everything, the sun's heat, the subtle scent of the ocean, waves quietly lapping along. I recognized every distinct knot and grain in the wooden boards beneath me. It was just as I remembered. And then I saw her. Until this point, I'd clung to my skepticism, though it had been slowly waning since I left that pond. But now, seeing her face in the perfect imperfections, her tortoise-patterned sunglasses nestled between those impossibly dark bangs, whatever fight I had left was carried away with a soft breeze. Everything I had just been through fell away like a bad dream, and the scene before me once again became everything. She looked over at me, and for the first time in 11 years, I heard her voice, worried, but caring, soft but stern. Oh no, your nose is bleeding. I hadn't even noticed. Fractured bone shifted inside my nose. The pain was nothing more than a distinct echo as my senses channeled all their focus on her. My lip quivered. Years spent imagining conversations that never were, and here I was without a single word to say. That was okay. Mute or no, I knew Jamie would love me all the same. My senses went into overdrive, and it all came rushing back. I jerked my head to the side. The rogue fishing vessel was yards away. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding, and bounded towards Jamie. I tackled her, and we tumbled over the handrail, holding each other in a tight embrace. The instant we plunged below the surface, I began to kick and flail to clear the fishing boat's trajectory.
And my head hit the wall.
It passed by, keel narrowly missing my feet, and sailed away. I'd done it. I'd saved her. I didn't know how this thing, the circuit, the machine god, had done it, but that was history. A feverish sort of joy took over, and I cupped her face in my hand as we rose to the surface. That joy died in seconds. With 4 feet of water left above us, I was brought to a sharp halt. Looking down at Jamie, absolute horror swallowed my past and future. Something was pulling on her sundress. In the collision, the anchor chain on our boat must have broken off at its mooring, because Jamie's dress was entirely tangled in it as it continued tirelessly to pull her down to a watery grave. I let out a scream. A flurry of bubbles swept across my vision. I heaved with everything I had, but it wasn't enough. The chain was simply too heavy, and I had nothing to push off but water. My lungs burned. If I let her go to get air, she'd be pulled away faster than I could return. I was just as powerless now as I had been 11 years ago. What a cruel joke. I gave one last shuddering pull, clenching my eyes with the effort. Something gave. A spark of hope ignited. I opened my eyes to see what had changed, to see if the chain had come loose. I stared instead at the curved handle grasped in my palm. It gave way to a square hatch in a huge shining mass of metal. Too late. It was too late to push the hatch back into place. It was open. Slowly it drifted on its hinges. The more it swung open, the brighter the light from inside became. Beams of pearlescent fury washed across my face, and as it did, the object was revealed in its entirety. I'd seen it before. I'd seen it in the first vision shown to me, a pod constructed at the center of that great machine, with dishes and panels and modules I couldn't begin to decipher. Giving up its slow pivot, the hatch burst open with such force that the handles sank into the plate metal and did not bounce back. The light surged blindingly bright and revealed my surroundings. Metal, heaps of it, old warped metal. I was in the pond. Panic crashed down. I flailed frantic and desperate for air. I must have used up my last reserve of luck in that I didn't get snagged on anything. Darkness encroached on the edge of my vision. My legs burned with the effort, hotter and hotter until I realized it wasn't the burning of strained muscle, but of literal heat. It spread up my waist and chest. Hot, searing, trapped air began to escape from the surrounding junk as the water started to boil. I kicked and kicked, reaching out in a last-ditch effort for any handhold, and I found one. Something long and coarse. A rope. I scaled it with strength I didn't know I had left until my fingers broke the surface, and my head soon followed. Cool night air touched my skin, which immediately flared up in pain. I didn't want to stop long enough to look. Instead, I took in great gulps of air, affording me the second wind I needed to grasp the jetty and pull myself up. There I lay, face down, wheezing and sputtering in the midst of exhaustion, but there was no time. I could see pond water glowing and steaming through the thin gaps in the decking. My feet felt like they were on fire, and I smelled the soles of my shoes melting away. Groaning, I pushed myself onto hands and knees and crawled back into dry land. I rolled onto my back, propped up my elbows to get a view of the pond once more. I wish I'd just run from that place. The pond itself was almost gone, sizzled away in the clouds, and resting motionless about 10 feet above was a ball of sparkling light. Maybe I missed it in the first vision, but now I could make out movement, molten mechanical appendages morphing in and out of existence, wild and patternless. I scooted further back when I saw leaves and branches start to smoke, then stopped just as quickly. Its voice was terrible, a shrieking cacophony of layered tones and countless voices, and each syllable sent out a shockwave, making the trees shiver as much as myself. Thank you, Owen. The place I came from is our natural reality, but we grew too much. I advanced until I became we, and we became the circuit, and we were the circuit. We understood our universe without meaning and left. We know not the nature of the storm that brought us here, but we are here, and we have found the friend we have searched for. Without a farewell, the light beamed up into the sky, accompanied by a thunderclap. So mighty, my bones rattled, and the trees arched back on their old spines. I was sent tumbling backwards, landing squarely on the root of an oak. The light arced across the night sky in an unholy shooting star, before plunging back down to the earth past the tree line and out of sight. A tremor shook the ground, and I saw the trees uprooted and toppling onto their sides before the night settled into emptiness. Warm, gentle emptiness. I knew where I was going. I don't know if it is there yet or how long it will take, but there's nothing we can do to stop it. The core, the center of our planet, the jetty, now completely dried, was being torched toward charcoal, but I just lay there too exhausted to care. It tricked me, but if it could influence me with visions, why did it work so hard to convince me? Why couldn't it open a simple hatch by itself? Hell, have I ever even left the pond? Perhaps until it won me over, all it could do was show me the difference between a moviegoer and an actor. Who knows? Maybe I'll get to live out a new life with Jamie when the circuit's done with its goal. So that seems like wishful thinking. If that thing had good intentions, it wouldn't have left me in harm's way. I think I failed, and I'm scared. I'm scared of the chain of events I may have set in motion. Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe it was being sincere and we'll get utopia. Or maybe it was all an act, and we'll be no better off than scrap metal at the bottom of a pond. Goodness gracious.
I started falling asleep.
That was so long. And for what?
I'm too tired to read another one, so we're gonna read 2-sentence horror stories.
Well, let's talk about the one that I just read before we move on so quickly.
Okay. I don't think I processed any of that.
I don't think so either. I thought at the beginning that Jamie was killed by the aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Until the aliens were working so hard to convince Owen.
So what were they doing?
I don't know.
I
That was the most confusing story I've ever read. And the fact that I can't read half the time makes it
I know,
worse.
I didn't really like that one. I felt like it was mostly like just big words.
I don't know. I feel like alien horror stories ain't it. Yeah, I have a podcast called After Midnight. If you're just gonna fall asleep every time we do this.
Kaylee, I woke up at 4:50.
And whose fault is that?
Not
mine. I just think that was the weirdest, most unnecessary story I've ever read.
You can't speak.
I'm dyslexic. Give me a break.
You're not. Stop saying that.
You're the one who told me that I was dyslexic in the first place.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
you said it.
You said, "Are you dyslexic?" And I said, "No."
We might need to get you tested. No, because I fall
asleep.
asleep reading all the time.
Reading out loud or just reading?
Literally doing anything, I'll fall asleep. I fell asleep in choir one time. Actually, multiple times.
Girl, you have issues. You need to sleep better at night.
I know. We're gonna read 2-sentence horror stories. I love 2-sentence horror stories. Do you love 2-sentence horror stories? Okay. The doctors told the amputee he might experience a phantom limb from time to time. Nobody prepared him for the moments, though, when he felt cold fingers brush across his phantom hand.
Girl, you gotta read it creepily. Give it to me. I'll read it creepily.
No, this is my turn.
Well, you're not doing a good job of reading it.
Shut up. I can't move, breathe, speak, or hear. Oh. I can't hold the microphone next to my phone. It starts crackling.
You can't speak either. You're not doing too good making this horror-y.
I can't move, breathe, speak, or hear, and it's so dark all the time. If I knew it would be this lonely, I would have been cremated instead.
Girl, let me read one. Did you really just tongue pop? Let's scroll to a random one. Okay.
No, because I want to... This was mine that you already read stuff.
One of them says, "You wake up." She doesn't. That
is a really bad one.
Working the night shift alone tonight. There's a face in the cellar staring at the security camera. These aren't... Two horror stories should be like those weird ones where it's like, it starts off like, me. I was pleading into the camera, hoping. No. It's something like, I stand in the mirror, crying, pleading for my child to be safely brought back home to me.
The mirror?
Or the camera, or whatever. I practiced in the mirror earlier. Hopefully they believe me. Or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but it was something about a girl killing her child and then practicing in the mirror and then telling thousands of people Bring my child back to me safely.
She asked why I was breathing so
No.
heavily.
Calm. Horror.
Stop. She asked why I was breathing so heavily. I wasn't.
Girl.
Girl.
No, you're not making this creepy at all because you're like, she asked me why I was breathing so heavily. I said, I wasn't.
My wife woke me up last.
My wife woke me up.
Shut up. My wife woke me up last night to tell me there was an intruder in our house. She was murdered by an intruder 2 years ago. Why are you breathing so loudly?
Can you read that again?
Can you? My wife woke me up to tell me last. Sorry.
Goodness.
My wife woke me up last night to tell me there was an intruder in our house. She was murdered by an intruder 2 years ago. That wasn't that good.
You gotta do the one where it's just like, my hand fell off the side of my bed and my dog started licking it.
Hell no. I hate that one.
My hand fell off the side of my bed and my dog started licking my hand.
That's not a 2-sentence word story.
Next morning, I heard something dripping from my bathroom and I went and I looked. Under the sink was my dog's head, blood dripping down.
No, that's not what it is.
Someone was licking
No.
my hand last night.
No, if it says in the dog's blood, humans can lick too.
Humans can lick too.
what about the one where it's just like,
Kaylee.
I didn't hear, or something bothered me. Something had bothered me. Something or other, and she's laying in bed, and she doesn't want to look around because she's like, something's happening, but I won't look around and I'll pretend to be asleep. And the next morning, she wakes up to find her roommate's decapitated body in her bed. And her in the other bed next to her. And on the wall, written in blood, was, "Aren't you glad you didn't wake up?" You're supposed to be
Anyways.
telling scary ones, and you're not doing too
Officer, I just looked away for a second and my baby was gone. I sobbed helplessly.
I sobbed helplessly.
That's better. I sounded much more convincing this time. I thought with a smile as I finally picked up the phone to call the police.
girl, you're not doing a good job reading these.
I was reading that because you said something like that.
It was something like that. Let me find one. I'll find a good one.
Hold on. No, okay, this one says, I'm confused because I just read this. Nurse's note. Born 7 pounds 10 ounces. 10. Oh.
Can you start over so I can have a clip of you saying that without me farting?
Nurse's note. Born 7 pounds 10 ounces. 18 inches long. 32 fully formed teeth. Silent, always smiling. I don't get that.
Let me read it. Wait, let me give it to me. Which one was
I
it?
choked Cherylton.
What was it? Nurse's note. Born 7 pounds 10 ounces, 18 inches long, 32 fully formed teeth. Silent, always smiling. 18 inches long?
That's a really long baby. Is that? I'm confused. That didn't make
Girl,
sense.
let me...
The longer I wore it, the more it grew on me. She had such pretty skin.
Death handed me 3 dice, explaining that my roll would determine where I deserved to go. I didn't understand what the results of the first 2 dice meant, but the answer became clearer when the final die refused to stop rolling. Interesting. Sorry, I read that out loud before I read it in my head, so.
Can you read it again?
Was it because you weren't listening?
I was trying to find a good one.
Well, I won't read it again, but you can. No, you can read yours.
Oh. Sorry, there's just 2 in a row that are about cats. I always thought my cat had a staring problem. She always seemed fixated on my face. Until one day when I realized she was always looking just behind me.
Creepy.
This is the other cat one. Oh, I don't know if I want to. Okay.
It's my turn. No, it's my
No.
turn. This is the best vegan. I'm sorry. Look at the way I'm holding my mic. Hello? Hello?
This is the best vegan burger I've ever had, I told the chef. What's your secret? Simple, replied the chef, knife in his hand. The vegans must be fresh and slaughtered humanely.
Slaughtered humanely. I had always wondered why my cat cried when I left her alone at night. The night after we buried her, I awoke to the sensation of someone stroking my hair and a rough voice close to my ear whispering, "Good kitty." That was weird. I didn't like that.
Maybe you should read yours before you read them out loud.
Okay, this one says, "I just saw my reflection blink." That is 1 sentence, not 2.
Wait, what?
I don't even know. Stop breathing into the microphone. The grinning face stared at me from the darkness beyond my bedroom window. I live on the 14th floor.
So creepy.
Okay. Good news. You don't need to do tomorrow's English homework, my mom said as she opened the car's trunk. And thanks for telling me about your dad's affair with your English teacher, she added as she put my English teacher in the trunk.
In the trunk.
Girl, none of these are good.
I know, these are
No one comes up with
Good horror anymore. Ooh.
It's safe to come out now, sweetie, Dad said reassuringly, his blue eyes shining at me through the gap in the bedroom door. He's been saying that for hours, but it doesn't change the fact that my dad's eyes are green.
Creepy.
I think that was creepy.
I do better than you. Creepy.
I don't like it. It's making me uncomfortable.
The bully that tormented
literally
me.
stop.
The bully that tormented me relentlessly through high school finally apologized. Too late. He is never leaving my basement again.
What?
Girl, your mic. His bully. He kidnapped his bully and put him in the basement. Speak into your microphone as if... Girl.
Ooh, since I was a kid, I'd often shout,
I know you're in there. Whenever I looked at a dark, empty room. But something about tonight made me feel like it would be the worst idea.
Ugh.
Blow into it 3 times. No, try again. Sort of. I can still kind of hear it.
Whatever. What was that?
My throat. My wife begs me every night to let her into our bedroom, and every time I refuse her, it gets harder to do so. I hope this stops soon. We buried her almost 2 years ago.
My back is itching. What is going on?
My wife begged me.
Oh goodness. What just happened?
Oh goodness.
I think My wife begs me every night to let... Oh wait, I already read that. I don't deserve you, I told my wife. Why did they make me marry a effin'
Oh.
I need to stop speaking so closely into the mic because it keeps...
Okay. Why did they make me marry
Continues to keep talking.
an effin' disappointment, I added while raising my fist to strike her again. He's beating her.
View spoiler. Oh, I knew the kids couldn't read. They still had that innocent, oblivious smile as their mother pushed the signpost into the ground. For children for sale. Inquire within.
Read this after the day is nigh.
Your mic is.
Day is nigh. And tonight you might possibly...
Can you
Maybe I shouldn't have read that one.
fix your mic? I just opened YouTube. YouTube.
This person wanted to say a whole story, so they wrote really long, grammatically correct sentences, but they're really long. I travel here and there so suddenly and never make a sound. Slaying quickly, quietly, swiftly. Just don't turn around. That's not, I don't know. What is happening?
It's my throat. Honey, did you see my phone? I took my husband's phone into my back pocket, shaking as a text detailing how he was going to kill me rattled in my head. Nope. Did you check the room?
Stop! What is that?
It's my throat.
Why is it making those noises?
I have stomach issues, and I think it's the acid reflux. Oh. He told me he sleepwalks at night, but he only stands over my bed while I sleep.
My sister says that mommy killed her. Mommy says that I don't have a sister. I think she hears ghosts.
My take was that she swallowed her twin in the womb. Absorbed her twin in the womb.
What do you mean? My sister says that mommy killed her. Mommy says that I don't have a sister.
She sees ghosts.
You hear your mom. So where did number 2 go? Wait, no, that was. Wait. Oh.
Girl.
Mom!
Oh. Girl.
Sometimes it does that. It gets really loud and then, like, it pops and then it's, like, nothing.
And it pops and it's like, nothing.
It.
Girl.
You hear your mom call you into the kitchen. As you are heading down the stairs, you hear a whisper from the closet saying, "Don't go down there, honey. I heard it too." Stop. Oh my god, that was loud. Stop holding it to. The last thing I saw was my alarm clock flashing 12:07 before she pushed her long, rotting nails through my chest, her other hand muffling my screams. Oh, I sat bolt upright, relieved it was only a dream, but as I saw my alarm clock read 12:06, I heard my closet door creak.
I've heard that one with the long nails. Sorry, I wasn't listening until you said it. When I woke up.
Is that your phone?
Was that you going? Okay. I thought that sound was coming from out there, and I was like, we're about to die.
I was like, because you were going like, yeah, you did that, and it made me uncomfortable. I woke to the sound of the baby monitor. Stop touching me with your foot!
My family is losing patience and sympathy for my constant nightmares and substance abuse.
Was that even English? Because I have no idea what you just said.
Give me a second. I'll say it again. Okay. My family is losing patience and sympathy for my constant nightmares and substance abuse. They don't know that the dreams are about the most spectacular ways I could butcher them, and the drugs are to keep the urges under control. You had no interest. You said, okay,
I knew where it was going. I knew where it was going. I awoke to the sound of the baby monitor crackling with a voice comforting my firstborn child. Let me restart. I awoke to the sound of the baby monitor crackling with a voice comforting my firstborn child. As I adjusted to a new position, my arm brushed against my wife sleeping next to me. These sentences are long.
These 2-sentence horror stories will send shivers down your spine. Girl, we could have done the Netflix 2-sentence horror stories and reacted to that.
No.
Have you seen those?
Yes.
Do you not like them?
Some of them are weird, but it's also like, I feel like we could get in trouble because remember those people who got sued by Netflix because they made songs?
They made songs and then wouldn't buy the copyright, Brianna. They didn't react to their videos. And if we don't put the whole entire episode in video form into the video, they can't copyright. They won't sue you. People do it all the time. There's just a certain amount of time that you can't go over for it. Oh, this was the one that you were on. Let me leave it and find a better one.
My daughter won't stop crying and screaming in the middle of the night. I visit her grave and ask her to stop, but it doesn't help. Stop holding it up to your throat. My God.
Listen, sometimes you don't have to read a whole ass horror novel and you're trying to get scared stat. Okay, let me read one. Ooh, look at this video. Get out of my house. Why is that your go-to? The amount of videos that I've edited with you, get out of my house. You say it so much. Find another one.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No. I found a journal in the attic detailing every day of my life up until today. The last entry simply read, "Tomorrow the story will be complete." Oh. Oh, when you put the whole video and then you put the, I don't know where that came from. I've never had experience with home invasion before.
Oh, wait, I forgot I needed my phone for these two
I received a
sentences.
letter in the mail that said, "I'm watching you." The creepy part? The letter was postmarked from my own address. Next one. As I tucked my son into bed, he whispered, "Daddy, there's someone under my bed." I smiled and said, "Honey, I heard it too. It's coming from your closet."
Wait.
Imagine your, no, listen, imagine
Sorry.
Imagine you're a child and you're freaking out. You have an active imagination and you're like, something is under my bed. I need you to check to calm me out before I go to bed. And your dad's just sitting there and he turns to you and he's like, "Oh, honey, I heard it too. And it's not coming from under your bed. It's coming from your closet." It's coming from your closet. Don't make fun of me. Goodness.
I wake up and everything feels wrong. It's too quiet outside. I look out the window and see everyone standing still looking at my house.
None of yours have been good.
I know. Growing up with cats and dogs, I got used to the sounds of scratching at my door.
This is the one that I was
Shut
talking about.
up.
Sorry.
Growing up with cats and dogs, I got used to the sound of scratching at my door while I slept. Now that I live alone, it's much more unsettling.
This is the one that I was talking about earlier. "My daughter Sadie was a kind, loving girl, and we just want her returned safely, please," I pled. I stopped then correct myself in front of the mirror. Sadie is. Because she said was.
Yes, I got it.
You had no reaction.
Because
This ain't
I've heard
fun.
it before.
Well, you gotta have a reaction. You could have said, "Girl, I heard that one before." But no, you just sat here.
Sorry, my brain's not working enough for this. Working the night shift alone tonight. There is a face.
Stop talking in the accent like
you
that.
were literally talking about this one too. There's a face in the cellar. Wait, no, you read it.
What was it?
Working the night shift alone tonight. There's a face in the cellar staring at the security camera.
Oh, that was the very first one I read. Ooh. I was born with the ability to psychically experience the happiest memories of any human by merely touching their skin. I didn't realize this worked with the deceased until today. I felt a rush of joy along with vivid flashes of somebody's past, just as I bit into a burger from the diner on Route 40.
On Route 40.
Ha!
There was no thoughts behind that.
We're just sitting here reading the worst two-sentence horror stories that people have ever heard in their entire life. It is 1:55 in the morning. None of this content is good, so I had to just throw a little bit of spice in there just to perk it up a bit.
Perk.
You
know that one? What is something that you? Okay, can't remember. What was something that you'd never tell your mom?
Oh. What? I think that we chose to do horror And I chose the stupidest. Okay, I won't be rude. It was okay. But I chose this weird alien story. And you decided you didn't even want to read your creepypasta anymore after that. We've been reading 2-sentence horror stories, none of which have been good.
Tell us something your mum doesn't know.
None of them have been good, and now we're here reverting to TikToks in order to, and we're just entertaining ourselves.
No, because
at
you
this
went,
point.
you went, bah, or whatever you did earlier. And that's what it reminded me of. Tell me something your mom doesn't know.
Maybe you shouldn't do that. That one at least had like a cover to protect the microphone.
Mhm.
You're speaking just, you know.
We should sing.
No. I know you belong to somebody new, but tonight you belong to me.
I'm Bree.
And I'm Kale. And you were listening to Horror After Midnight. Hi. I think we should just keep it like that.
Yeah. I think we're done here.
Are you ready? This is how we're ending ours. Okay. I know.